Hello everyone, and welcome back to another True Crime Mysteries video. Thank you all for being here. Today we're discussing the very mysterious deaths surrounding the now 29-year-old Nathan Carman, accused of murdering his mother on a fishing trip as well as his grandfather. Let's get into it. It was on December 20th, 2013 when Elaine Chakalos pulled into the driveway of her father's home in Windsor, Connecticut. Elaine had started checking in on her father periodically after the passing of his wife and her mother. The 87-year-old John Chakalos was still in bed, and Elaine discovered he'd been shot execution-style in the head 3 times while he slept. It is believed that John was shot with a .308 caliber gun believed to be a rifle. There was no signs of forced entry, and nothing was stolen. Police quickly started to look at the people who knew John and who had access to the home. In John's early years, he had enlisted in the U.S. Army and was a private paratrooper that had served in the Philippines during World War II. In high school, he met Rita Baranowski, who would later become his wife. They were married for 59 years, but in November 2013, Rita lost her battle with cancer, only a month before her husband was murdered. The two had 4 daughters together: Valerie, Elaine, Charlene, and Linda. John had dedicated his life to his family and his communities. His personal motto is quoted as, "Without family, you've got nothing. Family is everything." He had many grandchildren as well as nieces and nephews that he showered with affection. After his military career, John founded a real estate development company that he ran until he died. He built several retirement communities that he named after his children, and he was in the process of building one when he was murdered. This career made him millions, with his corporation being extremely successful. John and Rita were known in the community for being very charitable. One of their most notable contributions was their annual Christmas light display they put out outside their 86-acre New Hampshire home. The display boasted over 6 million Christmas lights and would draw huge crowds. They did this for over a decade, and they would ask for donations, and all proceeds would go to a local food bank. John's net worth was over $300 million, so before he died, he'd set up trust funds for his grandchildren and the Dynasty Trust for his children. Those in the Dynasty Trust could make someone the beneficiary of their portion of the estate when they died. A Dynasty Trust is a long-term trust designed to pass wealth from generation to generation. His 5 daughters were each set to receive $7 million each as their portion of the estate. During John's murder investigation, authorities turned to Linda Carman, John's second daughter, due to an altercation that happened a couple of years prior. News outlets report that on April 2011, there had been an altercation between the two. The incident reported that John came to visit his grandson, Nathan, when he'd been committed to a psychiatric facility for depression. John then told Linda that he would no longer support them and that he'd only been doing it for his grandson. When John tried to leave, Linda stopped him and started hitting him in the head, scratching and kicking him. Linda's quoted by the police saying, "My father is worth $300 million, and I want my share. He's not going to cut me off. I need the money." Another report said that the fight was about who should pay for Nathan's hospital bill, which resulted in Linda assaulting her father. Linda had apparently had a hard time keeping a job at this time and was reliant on her father for money, giving him financial control. Nathan's grandfather is reported to have been very interested in Nathan and spent as much time as possible with him. The two were close, and Nathan was known to rely on his grandfather since his relationship with his parents were strained. His parents had been divorced since he was young, and his father lived in California. At this time, Nathan lived with his mother in Middleton, Connecticut. Linda was charged with assault of an elderly person and disturbing the peace. In July 2011, the charges were dropped because John didn't want his daughter prosecuted. After this, John spent a lot more time with his grandson Nathan, bringing him to meetings and paying for all the expenses, including an apartment nearby. And in 2012, Nathan graduated high school. Nathan mostly only saw his mother on fishing trips that they took together. Some reports speculated that he'd become estranged from his parents. Nathan had been diagnosed with Asperger's at a young age. Though today it's no longer a diagnosis on its own, it is now encapsulated within the spectrum of autism. At the time, Asperger's was categorized as a neurodevelopment condition that is characterized by difficulties in social interactions, restricted interests, difficulty with change, incredible attention to detail, recognizing patterns, and remarkable focus. Because of this, Nathan had difficulties making friends and struggled at school, having what was reported as emotional outbursts. Classmates are reported to have bullied him, and Nathan lashed out physically because of it. He was also ashamed and upset about his Asperger's diagnosis, as he felt it made him more different than other students. His only real friend was his horse, Cruz. Between 2012 and 2013, John had set up 2 bank accounts that Nathan was the beneficiary of when he died. One account was for college in the future, worth $150,000, and a second worth $400,000, which both Linda and Nathan were the beneficiaries of. Before his death, John had also convinced his daughter to make Nathan her beneficiary for her portion of the Dynasty Trust. After John's death, Linda was brought in for questioning. She was asked to do a polygraph test, which she took and passed. Police no longer considered her a suspect in her father's murder. At the same time, the now 19-year-old Nathan Carman was also being interviewed by law enforcement. He was also asked to do a polygraph, but he refused. Nathan was the last person to see his grandfather alive. The two had dinner the night John was murdered. Law enforcement found out that Nathan also had recently gotten a New Hampshire driver's license and had used it to purchase a rifle in the same caliber as the gun used to shoot John Chakalos. When asked about the rifle, Nathan stated it had gone missing. Law enforcement got a search warrant for Nathan's home. While executing the search warrant, law enforcement discovered that Nathan had removed the hard drive from his desktop computer and removed the GPS out of his truck and disposed of both before police could look at the information. Nathan was never formally charged, and John's murder investigation remains open and ongoing, and law enforcement has made it clear that Nathan Carman remains a suspect in that investigation. Nathan did receive the $550,000 in inheritance and remained unemployed. He had purchased a foreclosed home in Vermont and had been working on it in hopes of flipping it, but by 2016, the money had run out. On September 17, 2016, Nathan Carman, now 22, planned a fishing trip with his mother, Linda, 54, on his boat called Chickenpox. The two left a Rhode Island marina around midnight and were due to return the next day. Before they left, Linda texted a family friend saying that they planned to return the next day, and the two made plans for later that afternoon. However, Linda never made it to that meeting and wasn't returning calls or texts. By Sunday night, the friend reported the pair missing to the Coast Guard, who then started to search for the vessel. Helicopters, ships, and planes in the area searched hundreds of thousands of miles of open ocean. This extensive search continued until September 24th, a week after they'd gone missing. There was no report that a mayday had ever been sent out. The search parties found no sign or evidence of the two or their vessel. On September 25th, 8 days later, the search was called off. The hopes of finding Linda and Nathan Carman weren't looking promising. It then came as a miracle when reports came into the Coast Guard about a man in distress in a life raft. The man was found by a Chinese freighter, the Orient Lucky, off the coast of Martha's Vineyard, floating in a life raft. Once in the safety of the freighter, the man revealed his name as Nathan Carman, and he'd been lost at sea for days. His mother, Linda, was not with him. After being rescued, Nathan asked if they had found his mother. On a call with the Coast Guard, he detailed what had happened.
When I saw the life raft, I did not see my mom. Have you found her?
He said that he and his mother had gone out on September 17th, and they'd planned to go tuna fishing in an area called Block Canyon, an area he'd never fished at before, was significantly further than where he normally went, and an area not suitable for the size of his boat. It was so far out that the Coast Guard hadn't been looking for them way out there. He alleged that he noticed the boat was taking on water. Initially, he said that he wasn't concerned. He said he'd gone to get the repair kit while his mother was taking in the fishing equipment. He said that they were on opposite ends of the ship, and he had the safety equipment. He said that while he was trying to repair the leak, he noticed the boat sinking. He said it was then that he deployed the life raft, and in all of the chaos, he never saw his mother again. He'd been able to get into the life raft with the emergency bag, and he watched the boat sink in minutes. He said that he never saw his mother after he grabbed the safety gear. His story had changed slightly for different people. Some have reported that Nathan has also said he tried to save his mother but couldn't. Linda was never recovered and is presumed deceased. Now, Nathan and Linda frequently went on fishing trips. The two were both knowledgeable and capable boaters. In Nathan's version of events, there were multiple things that weren't adding up. Experts stated that in order to go for tuna, you normally have a 4 or 5 person team to fish for something as large and as powerful as tuna. It isn't something that should be taken on a whim. It requires specialized equipment, and it's recommended to take someone with experience. Bluefin tuna can get up to 13 feet long and weigh 2,000 pounds. Additionally, Nathan's boat was not big enough to catch bluefin. There was no evidence that Nathan had ever purchased the equipment required to catch tuna. There was also a working distress beacon on his boat and other equipment that Nathan never tried to use. The distress beacon would have given the Coast Guards a signal that would have led them to their exact location. When asked, Nathan said that there hadn't been time, but it was just a switch, and where he said the leak was, it was right next to it. Nathan then said that he hadn't anticipated the boat would sink. He stated that he initially felt he could fix the problem himself, but the boat sank too quickly. Authorities started looking into Nathan for charges of reckless endangerment that caused death. Nathan was reported to have just done a series of repairs on the boats. Other boaters who saw the tools he was using alleged that he might have purposely made the boat unsafe and not seaworthy. Witnesses at the marina would later come forward, saying that they saw Nathan making holes in the boat before it left the marina, and that he knew it was not safe. Claims that Nathan denied, saying that he thought the boat was safe, and no charges were filed at this time.
Well, Nathan Carman left his home here this morning after talking with us, and he hasn't been home since.
And I just want to thank the public for their prayers and for their continuing prayers for my mother.
As Nathan Carman thanks those who rescued him, his father defends him against suspicions over how his mother, 54-year-old Linda Carman, vanished while the two were alone at sea. Almost 3 years after her father, Nathan's grandfather, was murdered in his Connecticut home, an unsolved homicide.
They're the two closest people to my son in the world. And let me just say this, there's no way he would ever injure either one of them.
A freighter rescued Nathan Carman from the life raft he said he'd been floating in for more than a week. He told the Coast Guard his mother disappeared when his boat capsized during what was supposed to be an overnight fishing trip off Rhode Island. Police searched the home where the 22-year-old lives alone in Vernon, Vermont, a foreclosure he bought with the promise of rehabbing it. Police left with a computer modem, GPS SIM card, and letter handwritten by Nathan Carman.
I think that it's very suspicious now.
According to the search warrant, he took his mother further offshore than she had planned and made boat repairs which could have potentially rendered his boat unsafe for operation. Then there are documents from Connecticut, where Nathan Carman was the last person known to be with his grandfather the night before John Chakalos was shot to death. A search warrant says family members were so afraid of Nathan, they hired armed private security to protect their homes. Police submitted a murder warrant for him 2 years ago, but prosecutors said they needed more information. And now this strange turn of events.
Without any other leads that they pursued, they've been hounding him for this for the past 3 to 4 years. And it's unfair to the poor kid. He's not that type of individual.
We've just learned the Associated Press spoke with Nathan Carman. Again, he told reporters he had nothing to do with his grandfather's murder, and he did not harm his mother, he said.
Law enforcement got another search warrant to search his home and his mother's home. Nathan's computer was never recovered, and it is believed to have been removed before the trip. After losing his mother at sea in October 2016, Nathan put in an insurance claim for his boat for $85,000 in January 2017. The insurance company denied his claim. The claim would come up in court, and a judge would rule in favor of the insurance company. There hadn't been enough evidence to prove that the chickenpox was seaworthy. It was during this trial that the previous owner testified, and based on photographs and CCTV footage of the boat, he could tell that Nathan had made several modifications that he felt were unsafe. In July 2017, Valerie Santilli, Nathan's aunt, also the executor of John Chakalos' estate, filed a lawsuit in New Hampshire probate court alleging that Nathan had killed both John and Linda Carman in an attempt to inherit millions of dollars. The lawsuit was started to prevent Nathan from collecting Linda's portion of the legacy trust and could not profit from their deaths. In 2018, Nathan attempted to get his aunt removed as the executor of his grandfather's estate. However, that never went forward. Eventually, by 2019, the lawsuit would be moved to Connecticut court, as it is where John was a resident and is still in probate court today. Nathan's aunts are convinced that Nathan killed their father and sister. They are fighting legally to make sure he does not receive anything from either estate. Through all the investigations, which have included local law enforcement and the FBI, Nathan maintains his innocence in the deaths of his mother and grandfather. In May 2022, the case went to a grand jury. The grand jury alleged that, quote, beginning in or around 2013 and continuing until the present, Nathan Carman devised a scheme to defraud the estate of John Chakalos, its executor, the Dynasty Trust, and its trustees, and to obtain money from the Dynasty Trust by materially false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises. In May 2022, Nathan was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in the deaths of his mother, along with 4 counts of wire fraud and 3 counts of mail fraud. Court records show that Nathan had removed 2 forward-facing bulkheads and trim tabs from his boat and was masking these as repairs. Additionally, the court ruled that Nathan had gone out to sea a lot further than was necessary for a fishing trip, and he purposely made their rescue impossible by not sending out that distress signal. In August 2022, Nathan was remanded without bail. Nathan's aunts have continued to be vocal about their belief that Nathan killed their father and Linda.
A Vermont federal judge denied Nathan Carman's request to be released from jail until his trial. Carman is accused of killing his mother on a fishing trip in the Atlantic Ocean back in 2016. He pleaded not guilty in May. The judge ruled that Carman poses a serious flight risk, saying little would keep him in Vernon over the long fall, and that location monitoring, like a house arrest, would not prevent him from leaving due to his lack of ties to Vermont and self-employment. The judge also says due to the evidence of Carman's mother's disappearance, his ownership of guns, and weak relationship with other family members, he poses a significant potential harm to others if released, especially due to an internal family conflict. Prosecutors say Carman also shot his grandfather to death in 2013, but Carman has not been charged in that killing. Carman has repeatedly denied any involvement in either death.
There's still been no formal charge made in the murder of John Chakalos. Court records for the case of Linda Carman do state the belief that Nathan murdered his grandfather. Authorities have stated that he's a person of interest, and the case remains open. It is believed that Nathan, having spent time with his grandfather and John's financial advisor, learning about the estate, and started an elaborate scheme which included killing his grandfather and his mother in hopes of inheriting millions. Nathan is now 28 and has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Nathan has not been convicted of these charges, and his trial has been set for October 2023. If convicted, Nathan faces life in prison for the murder and up to 30 years for the fraud charges. If you'd like me to follow future court proceedings, leave a comment down below. Well, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. As always, if you want to support the channel, the easiest way is to hit the like button. You can also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss my next upload. Other ways to support the channel are by joining my Patreon or channel membership. I also have merch, and you will find all the links in the description box, plus a few extras. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter for more. But with that being said, thank you so much for being here and supporting what I do. It is very appreciated. But that's it for me. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.